Okay. So now, oops, we're going to talk about oligopoly. We're going to see how managers of firms can operate in an oligopoly market using strategic decisions to maintain high profits, and understand how the reaction of market rivals influences the effectiveness of decisions in oligopoly markets. First, our characteristics. They're a lot like a monopoly, except instead of one firm, there are more than one firm. There's just a handful of firms. But the rest is pretty much the same, right? We just have a few sellers. There's blockaded entry and exit, just like a monopoly. There's imperfect dissemination of information, cost, price, and product quantity information are well known from uninformed buyers and potential entrants. And we have a homogeneous or a unique product. Everybody sells the same thing, basically.
Basically, oil companies.
Oil.
Oligopoly, yes.
Not
really.
Aluminum, for instance. There's a few that are close. They all sell commodities. Like all the markets that we've talked about are theoretical. You're never going to find any company or even markets that fit perfect competition or monopoly or oligopoly or monopolistic competition perfectly. They're basically baselines. We need to understand companies. Characterized by interdependence and the need for managers to explicitly consider the reaction of their rivals. Right? They're protected by barriers to entry that result from government fiat, economies of scale, maybe instead of a natural monopoly, a natural oligopoly, where you only have one or two firms that basically produce everything for the market, or control of a strategically important resource. Okay. Small number of firms in oligopoly market tend to encourage cooperative behavior. That's a cartel, right? That increases profits, decreases uncertainty, and of course helps raise the barriers to entry. So a cartel, right, is just collusion. In most developed countries, cartels are illegal, but not at the country level. For instance, OPEC is considered a cartel. Probably doesn't have the same market power it used to have, or definitely does not. De Beers is an Israeli company, and for a while they were considered to have a monopoly on diamonds, and they still control most of the market, especially for large diamonds. Okay. Cartels maximize their profit by restricting output of the member firms to a level that the marginal cost of production of every firm in the cartel is equal to the market marginal revenue, and then charging the market clearing price. The need to allocate output among member firms results in an incentive for firms to compete by overproducing. OPEC, especially in the 70s and 80s when they did have more market power, right, is a perfect example of this. Everybody was cheating in OPEC for a while in the 80s, right? And oil price came down to like $10 a barrel. Later on, Saudi Arabia figured it out, and they knew everybody was going to cheat, so they basically got a bigger quota than they figured they needed, because they were the biggest producer, and they underproduced their quota to keep prices high. Okay, so this is it for a cartel. Basically, they're a monopoly. They take the sum of their marginal revenues, the sum of the marginal costs, or I'm sorry, the sum of the marginal costs. They take the market demand, and therefore the marginal revenue, and they set them equal. And they sell the monopoly quantity, and they charge the monopoly price. Then they just decide how they divide the profits between them, or how they divide the market between them. Okay. So by producing a quantity of output that exceeds the quota established by your cartel, a firm can increases profits. I just sell a little more than I'm supposed to, my profits are gonna go up. The problem is that you increase the quantity in the whole market. And in the long run, that starts bringing prices down, especially when you have a bunch of people cheating at once. Which makes cartels unstable. So in this case, we still have a quantity P1, and then we have a firm that's selling a little more than its quantity, or a little more, it's called a P0, right, above its price, to increase its profit. Okay, that's a cartel, and basically cartels have problems because people cheat. They want to increase their profits, and they will in the short term. Price leadership is where you have an oligopoly where one firm sets the price and the others follow. You might have a situation that's not quite an oligopoly, where you have one big firm and a bunch of small firms with the same situation, where you have a price leadership situation. Basically, the price leader sets the price and everybody else is a price taker. Okay? So in a price leadership example, in oligopoly entries, managers at one firm have significant market power and set the price, and the rivals follow their lead. They essentially become price takers. So our assumptions, there's a single firm, the price leader that sets a price. There are also follower firms who behave as price takers, producing a quantity at which marginal cost equals the price that's set by the leader. The supply curve, therefore, is horizontal, a horizontal summation of all the marginal cost curves. That's the industry supply curve, just like under perfect competition. The price leader faces the residual demand. In other words, I set the price, right? Everybody sells what they're going to sell at that price according to their marginal costs, or the summation of their marginal costs, and I sell the rest in the market. Okay? So the price leader produces a quantity at which the residual marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. Price is then set to clear the market. Okay, so what do we have here? This ugly graph. I have the demand, right, for the leader, total demand, industry demand, and the leader's marginal revenue curve. I have this blue line, which is the summation of the marginal cost for all the other firms, and M here, which is the marginal cost for the leader. Okay. So that marginal revenue equals marginal cost for the leader, just for the leader. Right? They're going to sell, he's going to sell Q1 and charge a price of P1. Right? Then the rest of the firms are going to take their marginal cost, right? Set that equal to P1, and that's how much they're going to sell, S1. So the leader sells Q1, the rest of the firms sell S1, Q1 plus S1, right, will be the total amount sold in the market, which would be right here, and that's D1. So D1 is Q1 plus S1. I have 4 other letters there on the bottom. I'm sorry, 3 other letters, R0, D0, and B0. And I think it's better I explain it to you and then come back to the graph. So Q1 and P1 are the price the leader, excuse me, the leader chooses. I said, and I wrote choices. Anyway, what he chooses. The demand curve for the leader, B, is derived as follows. So if I set a price other than P1, for instance, let's call it P0, that's what was on the graph, then the followers are going to supply R0, the rest. The rest is supplied by the leader, so that's B0 minus B0 gives me little b0, which will therefore be a point on the leader's demand curve. I do that for every other price, and I get the leader's demand curve. Now, you notice I'm kind of doing it differently. I have a demand curve. I just kind of assume that's the monopoly price, that first price, B1. And then I change the price from that to get the demand curve. So that's essentially what we're doing. I'm assuming that that first price is the profit maximizing price, right? For the leader, basically charging marginal revenue equal to marginal cost. And then I actually try to figure out what his demand curve actually is. And I do that, right, by charging a price other than P1, call it P0, right here. And at P0, right, what is, what is the leader going to charge, or at P0, how much is the leader going to sell? And the answer is P0 here. So I connect those two dots and do it for both other prices, and I get the leader's demand curve, right? The rest is going to be sold, the rest of the market is going to be sold by the other firm, and they're going to charge, or they're going to sell a quantity equal to where their marginal cost price is the new price of P0, R0. R0 plus P0 gives me V0. Which is, of course, the formula. Question? No. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is a duopoly. A duopoly is simply a market where there's only two sellers. It's really an oligopoly with just two sellers, right? I'm going to assume the following. I'm going to assume the firms produce identical products, and they compete against each other, and the managers make decisions simultaneously. So the first possibility is simply price competition. They try to bid each other, outbid each other, and they keep driving down the price, trying to outsell each other. Right? And they keep driving down the price till they get to where price equals marginal cost. So I'm going to assume that the two firms have identical cost functions, and we get this everything right here. The total cost I for firm 1 and firm 2 is equal to 500 plus 4 QI plus 0.5 QI squared. That's one for each firm. I'm going to assume the total market demand is P equals to 100 minus Q, so that's my inverse demand curve, right? P equals 100 minus Q. And if I divide total Q, the market Q, by with the two firms, I have 100 minus QA minus QB, where I have firm A and B. So therefore, if I take my total cost curve and I take the derivative, I get 4 plus QE, right? So I have total cost for A. I'm sorry. I want marginal costs. So we have total costs there for A is equal to 4 minus 2 times 0.5 Q. So I just brought the Q squared, I have 2 here, and therefore I get marginal cost is equal to 4 minus 2 times 25 over 1. And that's for A. I do the same thing for B, so I get MCI equals 4 plus QI. Okay. So in this case, if we assume that there's price competition, they drive prices down to marginal cost, right? I set marginal cost equal to price, my inverse demand curve, so I get 4 plus QA is equal to 100 minus QA minus QB. Was there a question?
On the previous slide, is that calculation for I or for A?
And what I wrote up there was for A.
For A.
Oops. Yeah, for A. I am just saying that it can be either from A or from B.
Oh,
I had it's just
so just put in-
so I just put A. I could, and I do the same thing from B. I get the exact same thing. And of course, I is just generic for both. Okay. So here I have 4 plus QA is equal to 100 minus QA minus QB, right? And I solve for QA. So I have a QA and negative QA here. So I get 2 QA, bring the forward there, I get 96. So 2 QA equals to 96 minus QB. Divide both by 2, so I get QA is equal to 96 divided by 2, or 48, minus 1/2 QB, or 0.5 QB. That is known as firm A's reaction function. I mean, when Q changes this quantity, that's how I change my quantity in response or in reaction to a change in QB's quantity. Okay? It's called the reaction function. I do the same thing for B, and I get QB's reaction function, how they react to a change in quantity from QA. Of course, they have the same cost, same demand, so they're symmetric. Now, to solve this, all I have to do is solve them simultaneously. To solve them simultaneously, I just substitute one in for the other. Right? So, for A, I have QA is equal to 48 minus 0.5 QB. And I go ahead and I substitute the reaction function for QB in here. I get 4 minus 0.05, 4 minus 0.5 QA. Now I have a function with no QB, just QA. Go ahead.
It's 48.
I'm sorry, did I make a mistake?
The reaction QB 48. For
Oh, thank you. I went ahead and left the 8 out and I kept doing it. Okay. Appreciate it. Okay, so here we have it. Now I have just QA, so I have 48 minus 24, 0.5 and 0.5 is 0.25. Okay. So now I just want QA, so I bring this over and I get 1.25 QA is equal to 48 minus, actually, let me do this the right, let me take a step. QA minus 0.2, sorry, plus 0.25 QA, 48 minus 24 is 24. So I get 1.25 QA is equal to 24. So therefore QA is equal to 24 over 1.25 or 32. Questions? I do the same thing for QA and QB. I get 32 for both. I plug these two into my inverse demand curve, 100 minus 32 minus 32, or 100 minus 34, gives me 64, gives me 36. And therefore, once I do that, I can go ahead and figure out my profit functions. I have my cost function. I have my revenue function, which is P times Q, and I get a profit of $12. Questions? Okay. Now, what if instead of competing with each other or trying to undercut each other, they form a cartel? Well, in this case, they just act like a monopoly, right? The market demand is the same, 100 minus Q. So therefore, marginal revenue is going to be 100 minus 2Q. And in this case, since they're acting like a cartel, I don't even have to separate them as for marginal revenue. I just take the total demand and I get 100 minus 2Q. And if you guys remember, I just take my inverse demand curve, multiply it by Q, that'll give me total revenue. And then I take the derivative to get marginal revenue. My marginal cost for each firm is the same as before, 4 plus QI. Now, if I want to set that equal to marginal revenue, I have to, if it was graphical, I just sum up take the horizontal summation of the two marginal cost curves. To do that, I have to get them in terms of Q. So I have to get big Q, QA plus QB, right? So what I'd have is 4 plus QA plus 4 plus QB, and that'll give me here, -8 plus 2 times marginal cost, right? And I want to get marginal costs. So marginal cost, in this case, is going to equal 4 plus 0.5 Q. It's basically just summing the two up. And here solving for marginal cost. There, once I get this, I just set marginal cost equal to marginal revenue. So 4 plus 0.05 is equal to 100 minus 2Q. I solve for Q, and I get Q is equal to 38.4. If they divide it equally, each firm gets to sell 19.4. And the price in the market, and be very careful, I get students that go ahead and they divide the quantity by 2, and then they go ahead and divide the price by 2, and they say that's price. It's not the price is, right, putting the 38.4 into, right, the inverse demand curve, right, and that'll give me the price that both charge. If I divide it by 2, I'm cutting the price in half, and that's not what a cartel would do. They wouldn't cut the price in half, right? So in this case, I take my total revenue, P times Q, minus my total costs, right? I sum up, I have total cost times 2, right? 2 times, and I plug in 19.2, multiply that by 2, that's my total cost. Subtract it from my total revenue at 38.4, and I get profits of $843.20. Of course, if they're divided evenly with 20, their profits are going to be $421.60 for each firm. A lot better than the $12 when they were competing the price. Okay. Next, we're going to go through some examples where I have 2 firms, and one basically acts sort of like a leader, another one kind of reacts to it. So first I have firm B. If they produce 0, then firm A is going to react and produce 32. If firm B produces 50 units, then they'll react and produce 15.33. And finally, if firm B produces 96 units, firm A will produce 0 units. So let's go through the example, right? We're going to have this basically the same as we had before. Same example. I have market demand. ISP equals 100 minus 2, my inverse demand. Therefore, my marginal revenue is 100 minus 2Q. My marginal cost is 4 plus Q, just like before. So setting marginal cost equal to marginal revenue gives me a quantity of 32 and a price of 68. This is for the 2 firms getting together and acting like a monopoly. In other words, the following is for a cartel, a monopoly. Monopoly by firm A, where they produce everything. The next one is firm B, and they decide to basically produce 96 units. The residual market demand, P equals marginal cost, 4 minus QA. Well, that means QA doesn't produce anything. So if I'm firm B and I charge 96, firm B doesn't produce anything. Over here, I charge 68 and firm A charges 68 and firm B basically, we're assuming firm B just doesn't exist. They produce 0. Here we assume firm A exists, but firm B produces 96 and gets firm A not to come into the market. Finally, in example 3, I assume that firm B produces 50 units, and therefore the residual market demand gives firm A 50 minus price equals to marginal cost, 50 minus QA, and that gives them QA of 15.33 units. Questions? Okay. So we, in this case, we have collusion, then we have competition, with 3 examples, and now we're going to go to a general solution known as the Cournot solution. Cournot was a French economist back in, like, I think the 17th century. Anyway, long time ago. And he basically wrote a paper about 2 firms that sold water. And they had 0 costs, and they competed with each other, and he showed how one firm would react to the other. So in this case, we have the same market demand as we had before, 100 minus 2. So for the 2 firms, 100 minus QA minus QB. The marginal revenue for firm A, right, therefore is going to be 100 minus 2QA minus QB. Have we done how we got marginal revenue for firm A? I'm not sure we wrote it on the board, but so if I have the following, if I have price is equal to 100 minus QA minus QB, if I want to get the total revenue for firm A, I'll take QA and multiply it by P. So I'll get 100 QA minus QA squared minus QA QB. That's total revenue for firm A. So if I want marginal revenue for firm A, I just take the derivative the total revenue with respect to QA. So I'll get 100 minus 2 QA minus QB. And I got marginal revenue for firm A. Marginal cost for firm A is the same as before, 4 plus QA. I set marginal revenue equal to marginal cost, and I solve for A. I'm sorry, solve for QA. And basically, I bring the 2 QA here and divide, take the 4 over there, to 96, divide the whole thing by 3. I have 96 divided by 3 at 32, minus 1 over 3 QB. And this is the reaction function for firm A. Did I go too fast? Should I write that on the board? Okay, so I have marginal cost equal to marginal revenue. Marginal cost is 4 plus QA is equal to the marginal revenue for firm A, which is 100 minus 2 QA minus QB. And we got that from over there on the other side of the board. So now I just want to solve for QA. I take the 4 over here. So I get QA is equal to 100 minus 96. I want to take this over to this side. So I have 2 QA plus QA on that side. So here I have 3 QA on this side, on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, I have 100 minus 90, 100 minus 4, or 96. That's 9 minus 2. Minus 2b. So now I just want to divide both sides by 3, and I get QA is equal to 96 divided by 3 minus 1/3 QB, or 32 minus 1/3 QB. And that's a reaction function for firm A. We can do the same thing for firm B, or just assume since we have the same marginal cost and same cost and same demand function, we have symmetry. So firm B's reaction function, in this case, is 32 minus 1/3 QA. Now, from there, we do the same thing as we had the price competition, when we price down to marginal cost. I just plug in firm B's reaction function into firm A's, or vice versa. Right? And once I do that, I get QA is equal to 24, and therefore QB will equal 24. Right? And each firm will earn a profit of 364. If QA is 24 and QB is 24, what's going to be the price? Everybody hear that? Huh? Okay. Well, tell me what the price is. You don't have to. You can do it.
It's gonna be 76. No. 100 minus Q. Oh wait,
Well,
100 minus QA minus QB, so both are 24. Okay, 52.
one of these girls is going to help you, right? Somebody in the back row. Okay. Here, I'll give you a hint. P equals 100 minus QA minus QB.
Bien, 24 en QA, QB.
24 más 24 es 48. 100 menos 48 es. Ok, 100 menos 48 es. Gracias.
Pero nos falta todavía P igual a 100 menos Q, ¿no?
100 menos qué?
Menos Q, según el enunciado que aparece en el market demand.
Menos, pero Q es QA más, más QB, ¿no? Q, big Q is QA plus QB.
Y entonces, ¿por qué hicimos?
¿Cuál?
Bueno, lo hicimos largo, en teoría. Sí, ya lo vi.
Okay. So QA is 24, QB 24, that's 48, so 100 minus 48 is 52. Okay. And then, of course, if we take total quantity, right? Sorry. 48 times 52, right? That gives us total revenue. I plug in for total cost, and total cost, total revenue minus total cost gives me profits of 778, and I divide that by 2, and each firm gets 364. Questions? Okay. So here are the reaction functions, firm A and firm B, and these are the reaction functions that we derived 2 slides ago, actually 1 slide ago, right? This reaction function and this reaction function, and we get them both producing 24 units. That's a Cournot solution. That
Y la
each
gráfica
firm,
siempre luce en esa forma.
perdón,
Esa gráfica siempre luce de esa forma, cuando es la de la solución de Cournot.
Cournot, sí, son los funciones de reacción, the reaction function. And we had the same reaction functions, right, when we did the price competition. But they're different because there we're just setting price equal to marginal cost. Here, we don't do that. We just assume that each firm acts independently and they charge the price accordingly, and basically it works out. That's a Cornell solution. That was with two firms. What if we have more than two firms? Your book comes up with it. Let's say I have a price equals to A. Before, for us, A was 100, and then the summation of all the Q's, B. And of course, they were just straight Q's, so B is 1. So I take that, multiply it by QI, any of the QI, so I get A minus N minus 1, because we assume there's N plus 1. We assume there's N firms. B QI, that's the marginal revenue for each firm. And that's basically taking total revenue, that's QI times P, and multiplying it across. Marginal cost, I assume, is C plus EQI. Set marginal cost equal to marginal revenue, and I get QI is equal to this everything. A minus C divided by N plus 1. And I'm not sure why your book is using big N here and little N here, but it's the same thing. Times B plus E. So now we got this general formula, it's algebraic, right? And I'm going to assume the following. I'm going to assume A is 100, just like we did before. B is 1, again, just like we did before. C is 4, again, like before. And E is 1. So there, I can just change what happens with N, right? If it's a cartel, the price is $61.60, and the quantity they sell is 19.2 per firm, and the profits are $421 each. If there's two, it's a Cornell solution that we derived. The price is 52, quantity was 24, and profit per firm was 364. Total quantity is 48. And we have a decrease in price of 15.58%. If there's three firms, then the price decreases to 42.4. Again, the three firms produced 19.2, but now there's three firms instead of just one. Instead of just two, under the cartel solution, and the profits per firm are $52. If there's four firms, then the price drops to 36. So I have a 41%, almost a 41.5% decrease in price over the cartel solution. The profits per firm, or the quantity that each firm sells, is 16, and they have negative profits, $116 of a loss. Right? The total quantity is 64, and the percentage increase in quantity is 78% compared to the cartel solution. And from here on, 5, 6, 7 profits or losses get bigger. And finally, we have an infinite number of firms, right? I have negative $500 profit for each firm in this case. So in this case, if I have more than 3 firms, right, profits start going negative under or no solution, or of course, given all the assumptions that we made about the variables and profits. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is another price leadership example, this time known as the Stackelberg leadership. So in the Cornell environment, one firm moves first and optimizes production based on knowledge of its rival's reaction function, and it has a first mover advantage. Now, I'm calling him a price leader, but basically he sets a quantity first, and prices react. Okay, so under the Stackelberg, let's say we have the same market demand as we did before. Marginal revenue for firm A is the same as before, and the marginal cost for firm A is the same as before. The reaction function for firm B, right, is the same as before, right? Just the opposite of this, that's what's A and B. But firm A knows what firm B is going to do when they react, and firm A gets to move first. So they get to basically manipulate from it. So given the reaction function, I want to maximize my profits. And the way I do that, instead of just setting marginal revenue equal to marginal costs, just like that, I want to incorporate the reaction function into that equation. So I plug in firm B's reaction function here for QB in my marginal revenue equation. So I have marginal cost equals marginal revenue. My marginal revenue is 100 minus 2A minus what would be QB. But I plug in the reaction function, I get 32 minus 1/3 QA, right, equal to marginal cost, which is 4 plus QA. I do the math, and I get QA is equal to 27.43. And I plug that back in to that 27.43 into QB's reaction function, and I get QB getting $22.86. So I have 4 plus QA is marginal cost is equal to 100 minus 2 QA minus QB, and I plug in the reaction function, 32 minus 1/3 QA. So I have QA all over the place here. I have QA here, QA here, QA here. I take this 4 to that side. So I have QA plus 2 QA. I have minus and a minus plus 1/3. Oops, minus and minus, minus 1/3 QA, sorry, is equal to 100 minus 32 minus 4. So here I have actually, let me just do, I have 2.67 QA is equal to 64, or QA is equal to 64 over 2.67, and I hope that's 27.43. You can check with the calculator. Then I plug in the 27.43 into firm B's reaction function, and I get 22.86. That'll give firm A, with his first mover advantage, a profit of $377.71, while firm B gets a profit of $283.67. So this is going to be for whoever got the first mover advantage, since everything else is the same between them. Questions? Okay. So let's do basically the same thing, except now I'm going to assume that firm B's costs are higher than firm A's. Okay. So firm A's cost function is the same as before, 500 plus 4 QA plus 0.5 QA squared. For firm B, now it's going to be 500 plus 10 QB instead of 4 QB plus 0.5 QB squared. I go through and I calculate the reaction functions. The reaction function for firm A is the same as it was before. But for firm B, it's a little different. Instead of QB is equal to 32 minus 1/3 QA, it's going to be QB is equal to 30 minus 1/3 QA. Okay. So now if firm A gets to move first with that cost advantage, right? It'll just set marginal revenue equal marginal cost, incorporating firm B's reaction function. The price will be $51.14. The quantity for QA will increase a little bit from the 27.43 to 28.28. And profits for firm A will increase a little bit too to $433.42. QB's quantity would decrease a little to 20.57. And the profit for QB would decrease substantially to $134. That's if firm A has the first mover advantage. What if firm B has the first mover advantage? Well, firm B has the first mover advantage, even with the disadvantage in cost. They'll still increase their profits. Price will be almost the same as when firm A makes the first move. It'll be $51.42 instead of 14 cents, right? The quantity of A will come down to 23.71. Profit for firm A will come down to $443.55. QB's quantity will go up to 24.85, and the profits will be 220. Now, when firm B gets first mover advantage, they increase their profits, but they still can't make up for the cost advantage that firm A has. But the point is, moving first is valuable, right? You get to increase your profits when you move first, even if, right, the other firm is more efficient than you are. Questions? Okay. The next is a Bertrand model, and another French economist. Basically, his first model was just undercutting. It was sort of like the first example he gave, where everybody just keeps undercutting until there's zero profit. Right? That was Bertrand. So two producers, in this case, we're going to assume they're differentiated products now. They're not quite the assumptions of an oligopoly, but highly substitutable products. Right? I'm going to assume marginal cost is zero for both firms, and I'm going to assume that the demand for firm one is as follows: Q equals 100 minus 3P1 plus 2P2. This is different than what we've done so far, right? Our demand curve, instead of using the inverse demand curve that was used up to this point, we're using just a regular demand curve where Q is on the left-hand side. And it's symmetrical for firm 2, 100 minus 3P2 plus 2P1. Right? I get total revenue. I can get total revenue in the same way. It's always P times Q. So in this case, I multiply P1 times Q1, or times Q, for my demand. I get P1 100 minus 3P1 plus 2P1. I put that through, I get 100P1 minus 3P1 squared plus 2P1 P2. That's my total revenue. And the book breaks it up, and they do this so we'll see the differences later on. It's going to call TR11 is just that portion of the equation that has only P1 in it. And then TR12 is that portion of the equation that has both P1 and P2 in it. Okay. So marginal revenue for firm one, right? And it's really not the marginal, it's not the definition of marginal revenue we've been using. Instead of taking the derivative with respect to Q1, we're taking it with respect to P1. So my marginal revenue when I increase price instead of when I increase quantity. So I can divide that into total revenue from TR1 with respect to P1, and the change in total revenue from TR12 with respect to P1. And just going back to the equation, marginal revenue for firm 1 is 100 minus 6P1 plus 2P2. Okay. Let me do that. So total revenue for firm 1 is 100P1 minus 3P1 squared plus 2P1 P2. So therefore my marginal revenue for firm 1 is just equal to the derivative of total revenue with respect to P1. I get 100 minus 2 times 3 P1 plus 2 P2. Right? And this is of course 6. It's 100 minus 6 P1 plus 2 P2. So there it is. What did we say marginal cost was going to be, was equal to? 0. So I said marginal revenue equals marginal cost, right? So 100 minus 6P1 plus 2P2 is equal to 0. I get P1 is equal to 50 divided by 3 and 1/3 P2. That is the reaction, the Bertrand reaction function for firm 1. Now notice it's in P. Now in general, we don't like to do the marginal revenue in terms of P because all those results that we had for the difference between, right, marginal revenue and marginal revenue and profits, right, or marginal revenue and total revenue changes when we do it with respect to P and when we do with respect to Q. Right? In other words, if I raise price, right, when I have this with respect to Q, what happens to total revenue is different than we do for Q. So usually we don't like to do that, but Bertrand model is set up in such a way, and I get the reaction function for firm 1. I do the same thing since they're symmetrical. I get the same reaction function for firm 2. I just change P1 and P2 around. Right? And I get P2 is equal to 50 divided by 3 plus 1/3 P1. I plug in P1, the reaction function for P1 and P2 or vice versa. I go through and I solve for P1 and I get $25. Do you guys want me to do that? Or you guys tired of me writing on the board already? Is that a yes or no? Okay. So I get P1 is equal to 50 divided by 3 plus 1/3 P2. Right? But I want to plug in the reaction function for P2. So it's 50 divided by 3 plus 1/3 P1. So I have P1 is equal to 50 divided by 3. 1/3 times 50 over 3 is 50 over 9 plus 1/9 P1. I have 50 over 3, 50 over 9, 1/9 P1, which I bring over here. So I have P1 minus 1/9. Yes, plus and plus. This is a 9, not a Q, right? 1/9 P1 is equal to 50 over 3 plus 50 over 9. So I get P1 over 8/9 is equal to 50 over 3 plus 50 over 9. Again, it's a 9, not a Q. So I get P1 is equal to 9 over 8 times 50 over 3 plus 9 over 8 times 50 over 9. Multiply is 150 over 9. Sorry, oops, I erased that. I shouldn't have, huh? So that's gonna equal, I multiply this by 3 to get a denominator of 9, and I get 150 over 9. The 9's cancel, so I get 150 over 8. Plus 50 over 8. I have the common denominator. Which is? Okay, so we have a price of 25, right? I plug that into the price, my price P1 and P2, into the quantities. I'm sorry, plug the 25 solve for P. Oh, I'm sorry. I plug 25 and 25, I get my Q's, right? Which is 75. And then, of course, I get total revenue minus total cost, giving my profits was $1,875. Of course, we can't compare this to the other ones because it's not the same demand and marginal cost, but that's our profits in the Bertrand model. Okay, and here are the reaction functions. Notice that they're upward sloping instead of downward sloping because we were doing it with respect to price and not with respect to quantity. And of course, we started 1667. 16.67 is 150 over 3. Okay, that's just so 25 and 25. Those are reaction functions for the Bertrand model. Okay.
So the point where the lines intersect, they go over that price, they're losing money or not?
The problem is if this is the profit max, so yes, they're losing money.
Okay.
The reason they're going to be losing money is because when I go over that price, my firm's going to react, or my rival is going to react.
Inversely.
Yeah, inversely, and it's going to lower my profit and his.
There's gonna be too much competition for prices.
Exactly. And the truth is, if I'm the firm, if he raises price, I don't care. If he lowers prices, where I have a problem, then I have to lower my price too, and we both our profits decrease. Okay. So here we have something similar. My total revenue, right, is TR1 plus TR22 plus TR12. These are the two firms, right? The total revenue together. And basically, it's really, we could just do this TR1 plus TR2. But this is why we look on to break it up. So, right, TR1 is 100 P1 minus 3 P1 squared. TR2 is 100 P2 minus 3 P2 squared. And then P11 is 2 P1 P2. So in this case, we have both of them. That's 4 P1 P2. So marginal revenue for firm 1 is 100 minus 6 P1 plus 4 P2. And the marginal revenue for firm 2 is 100 minus 6 P2 plus 4 P1. So in this case, when they collude, right, and basically become a monopoly, right, I have reaction functions for the two firms. That's P1 50 over 3 plus 2/3 P2. Before it was 1/3 P2, right? So we have more reactions of price. I substitute one into the other, and here, instead of prices of 25, I get prices of 50, right? And quantities of 50, and profits, instead of 1,875, of 2,500. So profits go up when they collude. Okay. Questions? Oh, am I going too fast? I really expect it to be push right up to 9.
para el examen, serán de las lecturas de la 7 a la 11, ¿verdad?
Básicamente todos los mercados. Completación perfecta.
Hasta el capítulo 3.
Monopolistic competition, right? And monopoly and the pricing strategies under monopoly, right? Bundling, time,
Price
price discrimination last week. And then oligopoly. And, wow, I won't see you guys, I'm gonna miss you guys. Have a good Veterans Day and Discovery Day. Perdón, ¿quiere la pregunta?
De las asignaciones. ¿Qué asignaciones son? La 2 y la 3.
Las dos y la tres. Hay una pregunta en la 2 que era para la, I remember right here, first. I might be wrong.
Y al final,
El final es correcto. Básicamente, para el final, yo voy a tener material nuevo de 2 capítulos. Una pregunta de cada capítulo, una pregunta del primer examen parcial, una pregunta de la segunda y luego una abierta.
Para confirmar, está viendo. Entonces, yo no voy a poder venir.
Sorry, I just.